Welcome, everybody, to LIPSEY'S Aim Higher podcast. I am your host, Mr. Rourke.
I'm not tattooed.
This is Tattoo.
No.
I'm Rob Ambrosino. This is Jason Kloster. We have Brian and David here from Q. Brian's the sales manager, and David is the key accounts manager. I was going to say national accounts manager. Close, pretty close.
Pretty close.
Excited to have you guys here today. Been hanging out with us all day, did some training earlier, got some guns, and we're going to get into all that. Jason was up at your place pretty recently, and
Yep.
we'll get into that as well. But so welcome, guys. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So I guess we'll start kind of from the beginning of a little bit of history of Q. Maybe get into the name Q for those who may not know, so we can kind of do a brief run through history, and I'll let you guys tell the story. So.
Yeah, so our owner, Kevin Brittingham, previously started a company called Advanced Armament Corporation back in the day.
AAC?
Yep, AAC.
Yep.
So he ultimately sold that company to Remington and started Q a few years later. A little bit of time in between at SIG.
Right.
But started Q, and the reason he called it Q is because he got sick of writing Advanced Armament Corporation on form after form after form.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
And so he said, if I'm going to start another company, I'm naming it one letter.
Yeah.
And Q is where he landed. Everybody always asks what it means.
Yeah.
We like to keep them guessing.
Right.
So quiet, sure, quick, sure, you name it.
Right.
But we try not to.
I think it's great. It's a disruptive name, and I mean, what it just stands out.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go further than that. It stands out, and
It's
people know
very
it.
not gun industry.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the guns speak for themselves. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about. Well, Jason, let's start with your trip because that was a couple months ago. I know you guys have some products that we'll get into as well, but we've had Q on board for how long now? 5 years? It's been a while.
right, close to the beginning, I think. We've had it.
First PO is 2017, so
Yeah.
that'd be within the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 years. Yeah. And recently I know you went up there and kind of took the tour around and got to hang out with these guys a little bit and. Let's talk about that. Let's get into that.
Yeah, so they're up in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Kind of where old traditional Gun Valley is still probably one of the few freer areas still up in that area. But great facility. The one thing about Q is they have kind of this little edgy feel in their marketing, their guns, and the way they do things.
Right.
And their building it's just a cool place to be hanging out.
Yeah.
It's a super cool place to watch guns being built because as loose and easy as some of the marketing is when it comes to the technical equipment and the CNCs and the stuff that they put into building these guns, it's the exact opposite of
Right.
that. I mean, it's very regimented, and it's very cool to watch the precision that goes into these builds.
Brian, do you use protons in any part of the manufacturing process?
And photons.
I'm sorry. It was photons, not protons.
Protons, electrons.
Sorry, that was before you got here.
I
Jason.
think those two things come hand in hand too. Like when you have such a focus and such like a high stakes, like building guns that someone's life may rely on is pretty serious.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of our industry just gets lost in the seriousness.
Right.
There's still people at the end of the day who are fascinated with building the best firearms and silencers we can build. And, we lean into this being something we're passionate about, something that in the beginning for all of us started as fun, and we start working in the industry and it also becomes a job. I'd like to try and remember that this started from fun. It started with me 5 years old shooting with my dad. And
Sure.
that's that's what we did. Some people play catch. So for others, like this is something you grew up with, something that's like a really important part of your life. And
So the facility, you keep it lighthearted, but the product and obviously the seriousness, that goes into the development and the product, like Jason was saying, is it's that's all business.
Yeah. So we actually have two different facilities because of this very thing that we're talking about. When Q started originally, we were in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is about 20 minutes south of where we are now in Dover. And it was a very small shop type location. And as we grew into a much larger production facility up in Dover.
You said you're 60-some people now, and you were almost doubled in size, what, the last 2 years-ish?
Yeah.
That's amazing growth.
We filled that building in Dover very quickly and ran out of space, actually shortly after David got hired.
Yep.
And so now, as things grow, there needs to be more rules, more processes, more
Right.
procedures, and we don't ever want to become that corporate big company. So Kevin decided to split the personnel into 2 different offices. So we have a separate location that we call Q Creative, and that's where we house our sales team, our marketing team, and our engineering and design team. So all of those folks kind of live in that building, whereas our production building has a little bit more rules that you would expect in a factory location.
Right. Makes sense. And I'm sure you blend at some point or, together, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking about it this morning. We were here, so we missed it, but we have an all-hands meeting every month. So we get together and have breakfast and go over the goals of the company, how things are going, new projects coming up, things like that.
Yeah, we're very similar here, actually. Very similar. And it's kind of the same in the growth that we've had, over especially the last, say decade, honestly. We've been pretty explosive, but trying to keep that cohesiveness and we're family owned, the family owned feel, as you continue to grow. So
well, to David's point, a lot of people who grew up with guns, it started as a fun thing, going out and shooting with your dad, whatever, and then it turned into a little more serious. But for a lot of people who've gotten into guns at a later age, it started off serious. Yeah, I feel like I need it for self-protection, or I want to buy something before it gets banned, or whatever their motivation is.
A lot of buyers right now.
Yeah, and especially the last 5 years, we've seen that. And for a lot of those people, they kind of get into it, and then they realize, okay, these guns are for serious purposes, but they can also be fun. And so their journey goes from serious to more fun, and they're looking for things to go to the range and just go shoot. It's not necessarily. Not every gun that they own is in their everyday carry rotation or whatever scenario they think they might need. It's, hey, I bought this 300 Blackout minifix because it's just fun.
Yeah,
I don't have to have a purpose for it. That's a gun that you don't want to stop shooting.
Yeah,
when we went up there, they took us out to the range, and it was starting to rain, and it was cold, it was windy, and all this stuff. And we're like, no, we'll keep shooting. It's like we didn't want to stop. Because it's you just can't help put a smile on your face. Shooting 300 yards with a 4-pound rifle and dinging the plate every time.
Yeah, I have an AR pistol. I didn't buy it to go to battle with it. I bought it because it's cool, and I like to take it out, right?
I like ARs too. That's actually, I came to Q as an AR enthusiast, and I really didn't have a whole lot of interest in the fix or the minifix at first because I didn't grow up hunting, right? But as we spent more time on the range and I spent more time shooting the guns, I made a complete switch. I mean, the minifix 300 Blackout SBR with a Trash Panda or a Thunder Chicken silencer and nothing but, a red dot is the most fun that you can have.
Right.
Period.
It's to me, this is, I don't know if anyone else would agree, but to me, it's like an adult's Red Ryder BB gun.
Right.
That pure,
The
pure fun and enjoyment that I got out of shooting a Red Ryder BB gun as a kid.
Absolutely.
Can I hit it? Can I hit it? And you do, and then you are absorbed in the action, the process of shooting and running that gun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of those things that doesn't make sense. Like, I watched all the videos before I started Q, people talking about how it's fun and how it's this. And, from the outside, it looks like a bolt gun.
Right.
What could be fun about a bolt gun, right?
Yeah.
Except it's one of those things where once it's in your hands and you get to experience, it's like driving a manual. Yes, it may not be the fastest option any longer. There's faster dual clutch cars, and it may not be the most efficient any longer because I'm not as good as, your 19-speed whatever automatic transmission, but there's an interaction between man and machine that is getting sterilized out of our world, and that this brings it right back. In that 45-degree bolt throw, it's a lot of fun.
Well, the cool about it is it's you're getting to actually actuate the gun, but it's so ergonomic that it doesn't take away from the shooting pleasure. You don't get wore out because the guns are not heavy.
Yeah.
That little bolt throw is so short and it's so easy to manipulate that I agree. It's way more fun than shooting the semis after, because it's just, God dog, man, it's so quiet and everything. But
So you were at the factory. Obviously, you're familiar with Q going up there. What did you learn, or what maybe surprised you, or what was cool, when you got there? Well, that was your first trip there, right?
Yeah. So it really, the expanse of it. I mean, how big it was, all the stuff that they do in house. Because you're so used to, common now is for people to outsource so much of their processes and pieces and stuff, and they really do a lot of things there. And their ability to flex and move pretty quickly was really impressive. Their commitment to new product development is really huge. That was really my first real lesson on 8.6 blackout, that new round.
I'm not that familiar, so we can talk about.
We're going to talk. We need to talk about that, and because I kind of knew about it, but I don't know. I didn't really pay a lot of attention. Came away just being in love with it. Yeah, it is a really, really neat cartridge, and these guns are the perfect platforms for them. But again, talking to Kevin, I mean, it's just not, oh, hey, let's just cut this and go make it. I mean, he's been testing that thing for years now, and it's really done found some interesting things about twist rates and velocity windows and all this kind of stuff. So they put a lot of real-time development into these things, and not just, hey, let's build this because we can and then try to go make a use for it. They're actually validating all this way before and putting a lot of time and effort into doing this before they actually hits the market. So that's pretty commendable.
Yeah, that's really cool. Let's get into the guns a little bit. You brought a couple here. Actually, you brought a kind of a full arsenal. I saw earlier. There was quite a few more. We couldn't fit them all on the table, but we've got, I know, a staple back here and something new up here. Is this
a little bit? Yeah. So we'll start with this one. This is the Fix chambered in 8.6 blackout that Jason was just referencing. If you're familiar with 300 blackout,
sure,
and the concept, it's you can think of it as like 300 blackout's bigger brother.
Okay.
We're talking about a 338 projectile in what was originally a 6.5 casing.
Right.
And so the beauty there is it fits in standard AR-10 mags. This Fix here takes SR-25 mags, and with nothing but a multi-tool and swapping your barrel out, everything else on the gun stays exactly the same, and you can switch from 308 to 6.5 to 8.6.
So the projectile itself is similar, but it's got a little more heat to it.
It's a larger projectile, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the bullet itself is
so what they did was they took, so the 300 blackout, to rewind a little bit, is basically a 223 case that was shortened. So it's a 221 Fireball, I guess, is with the original case that they used to play with. And then it was necked up to 30 caliber. So you had a low powder capacity, but it could shoot a heavy bullet, and is optimized for subsonic suppression.
Right.
Same concept with the 8.6 is they take a 6.5 Creedmoor case, shorten it down now, and then neck it up to 338.
Okay, all right.
So we were shooting 285 grain subsonic bullets.
Yeah, while you were there, we actually shot up to 315, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they get pretty big.
Yeah.
We brought some 350 maker projectiles, some of the machined expanders that were down during the training. It's fascinating that, the weight of it, and looking at that flowered, turbine like pedal shape, that it's something that we're not used to.
Right.
The fast twist is something that was done just to stabilize these big, heavy subsonic rounds.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, that round reaching its destination, that rotational energy also comes into play, and it has to be absorbed, and it leads to very in terms of this originally stemming from just wanting to stabilize the big, heavy subsonic rounds, and then seeing what happens when that round actually reaches its destination. I mean, our YouTube channel is full of big game being taken all across North America and South Africa. If there is something out there you'd like to shoot, it's probably worth shooting with 8.6.
Right.
That's what I've learned from our YouTube channel so far.
What's impressive is if you want to hunt with a subsonic round, it's really best in class.
Exactly.
Because you extreme terminal performance and actually at some distance. 300 blackout, it's very common. You see guys hunting like pigs and stuff like that with it, especially the guys who are hunting at night and trying to keep their signatures down. But it's a 7,500 yard, a proposition. This 8.6, I think Kevin was talking about. I mean, they're getting out to 300 yards.
Yeah. I think
that. I mean, it's crazy.
Killed something that's 285 or something like that.
Wow.
But yes, 8.6 really shines 300 and we always say there's a lot of shooting to be had 300 and in.
Oh,
That's
gosh.
probably 99.9% of most hunting is that.
We don't even shoot that far in this part of the country, really.
Exactly.
No. I mean, with all the, we've got a lot of heavy woods.
Yeah, same in the Northeast.
And then, what David was alluding to is the byproduct of having to go to a 1 in 3 twist barrel, which is, people think 1 in 7 is super, super fast. I mean, you're going to a 1 in 3. When you look down the barrel, looking at the rifling pattern, it's really almost comical when you look at it.
Yeah.
But the byproduct of that has just been even that much more terminal effect once the bullet hits the animal.
Yeah.
So it's really just a win-win. It's pretty cool.
We our engineering team tested it down to 1 in 1. But the rounds just were coming apart at the muzzle at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, to have a copper jacketed bullet, it just would tear it apart.
Wow.
Spins itself apart.
Yeah. But the most impressive thing of all is Brian says, okay, so we took an identical barrel length 300 blackout with a Q suppressor on it, and then we took identical 8.6, both subsonics, both suppressed. I mean, Chris and I were standing next to each other, just shooting one. Could not tell a difference in the sound signature.
Wow.
Yet you were shooting over 150 grains more bullet out of it and a much bigger diameter with more case capacity. There was absolutely no signature difference and no recoil difference.
Wow.
I was shocked.
And you could get quieter, right? Like we have prototype cans around the shop. This is a pork chop on this one here.
I love the naming. All the names are fun.
Yeah, so we have our pork chop, and then a couple baffles shorter would be the short chop. But we have one can at Q that's a prototype that's, I want to say, 3 baffles longer than the pork chop, and it's unbelievably quiet. It's just, it starts to get too heavy and too long on the end of the gun, and it's not really something that you would find yourself using realistically in the field. But it is fun to experiment with how quiet it can get.
And let's talk about just the form factor and the cool factor of these. I'm a sucker for like this skeletal kind of framing. I really, really dig that. And then the color that's not a color we talked about, a little while ago before we started the podcast. So is this where the photons came in? I don't remember. Still not in the right place. Okay. So
It's where they come in now.
Okay. All right, good. Let's talk about the color that's not a color. You guys can kind of walk through that.
Yeah, so most of our guns are clear anodized. So other than like some few steel components, like all the aluminum is going to be clear anodized. And it's very interesting. This is something I didn't know before starting at Q. Different grades of aluminum end up being different shades.
Right. So you get almost a gradient,
Yes.
or a can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I didn't know that until you sat down, actually. So that's really cool.
And what I think is I find this to be one of the coolest things just about our finish, which looks like it's all for show. It looks like one of the, gold-plated this or that or red anodized part that we all, wish we didn't see, but we see them all the time. But that's not where this comes from. It comes from, if you're going to clear anodize aluminum, the finish cannot be harder than just leaving pigment out. Adding pigment leaves you with a weaker finish in the end. So when originally, the original Honey Badger being a gun specifically made just to replace the MP5 SD for a tier 1, special operations customer, they're going to be spray painting these guns anyway. And now we're adding, layers of coating.
Paint on paint, yeah, right.
Paint on paint,
right.
And tolerance is getting thrown off. So that's where that comes from. And I just think it makes it that much cooler. Like, this is a gun we walked into a gun shop. I remember Shooter's Outpost to this day. We walked in with my wife, and she's not she's not as passionate about firearms as I am.
Sure.
But she saw this thing, under the glass from across the shop, and she was like, "What's that? Let's take a look." And
This is the Honey Badger we're talking
Yes.
about, by the way.
Yes.
So this is
And
one of your signature
it's
firearms.
probably
Yep.
what we're best known
Right,
for, and
right.
just like that gold and gray color pattern is something that for a while was unique to Q, and now it's become a look. And
Yeah.
some people, get like a little upset about that. I think it's a testament to we're doing something that people like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and eventually, if something works, there's going to be others who do, to try and do something similar, and that's only natural. But
Well, I mean, you're using natural materials, and aluminum or steel, not natural, but and just allowing their color, I guess they're natural
it's
colors, which is earthy. They're both very
Mm-hmm.
earthy looking guns, which is what most people are Cerakoting or painting their guns to look like.
Well, they
something
definitely
that
stand
blends
out on
in.
the shelf. I mean,
Yeah.
in a sea of black ARs
Yeah,
and bolt
yeah,
guns,
yeah,
it's,
no
it's
doubt.
pretty easy to pick out which one's the Q guns.
Yeah, these things are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, anyways, yeah, let's talk more about the Honey Badger. So, how many editions do you have of this, or this on this platform, you can tell me that I'm not.
it's I'd say like 3 main configurations.
Yeah.
So this is what you could call the flagship, the original, the SD variant, the Honey Badger SD we see here. This is closest to what was originally submitted for that
The
low
military
business
contract, yeah.
weapons contract. Yep.
Right.
Yep. So for those of us who look at this kind of as a collector, like this is the closest firearm to what was originally submitted.
Yeah.
And then all that said, the SBR variant is what I own personally. Just because it's essentially the same exact gun, 7-inch 1 5 twist, 300 blackout barrel. But whereas this has a 12-inch handguard and the Honey Badger silencer tucked underneath, the SBR just ends at 7 inches, and then you can put one of our other 30 cal cans, the Trash Panda or Thunder Chicken, on there.
Right.
And essentially you end up with a very similar rifle, but that to me is just practical, where I can take the silencer off and I'm left with a very short
So you got
overall
so you've got the
package.
barrel out to here, and then this is just can
Yep.
as
Yep.
basically the setup for that. I got
Yep.
you. Yep.
For the longest time, our bread and butter with the Honey Badger were Honey Badger pistols.
Oh yeah.
With the pistol brace.
Right.
And we were actually one of the few manufacturers that, at the time, before all of that started becoming written rule, or before the ATF made a formal announcement on that, we were targeted specifically at Q for that brace, despite the fact that there were several other manufacturers that were much larger than we were.
What do you mean you were targeted specifically?
I wasn't at Q at the time, but the ATF approached Q and said this is considered an SBR.
And not looking around the industry. Not,
this
I mean,
is
not that
the-
we want them to, but I mean,
Correct.
like that seems a little
And when,
unfair.
when Q pulled that thread, it turned into, okay, we're going to backtrack, and
Yeah.
this is going to become a much more widespread ruling.
And it did.
And it did, right. But yeah, Q was at the forefront of that for a long time. We were refunding folks for their tax stamps. So
Yeah.
you go out and get a tax stamp, and we'd pay it back for it at the time. We were really trying to do what's best for the customers, but we wanted to get as many Honey Badgers into the hands of the people as possible. Right? And that's the easiest way of doing that, is selling it as a pistol. Obviously, you don't have all those
Right.
Form 1 or Form 4 hoops to jump through.
Right.
But since then, we've seen great demand for.
I was going to ask,
SBR.
now that that's all taken place, I mean, is there been any fundamental shift business wise? I mean, I would think that people, I mean, no, you don't have a choice to buy a pistol anymore. So, I mean, if you want one, you're going to buy one of these, I guess, right?
Sure. Well, the ruling effectively changed the inventory levels in the market for
Yeah.
SBRs overnight.
Yeah.
Right? So we still do sell a Honey Badger pistol. Same thing with a mini fix or a fixed pistol, because we want to cater to those customers that choose to go the Form 1 route. I am that customer personally. Like, if I'm going to buy an
Right.
SBR, I would never buy a factory SBR and wait the 4 months.
Right.
Form for it and wait not 4 months. It's
12
Year.
months.
yeah,
Yeah,
really
year.
9 to 12 months. Yeah.
Right.
I want to take my new toy home same day.
Right.
And a Form 1 right now are coming back, I don't know, 30 to 60 days roughly.
Yeah.
And it's just a much better option. Now, the downside without a brace is you're buying effectively an incomplete gun. off the wall, and we recognize that, right? So right now we have a pistol rebate program for anybody buying our pistols that are going through the Form 1 process. We'll give you a free stock.
Good to know.
At the end of that, yeah. So
just email Q.
Yeah, okay.
That's literally as simple as it is. Like if you bought a Honey Badger pistol or whatever, and you want a stock for it, email us with your approved Form 1, and we send you the stock.
Cool.
Can't beat that deal.
No, absolutely.
And that really, I think that's probably the smarter way, because like what Brian's alluding to is while you're waiting for that stamp to come back, you can still go out and you got your gun. You can still go shoot it.
Yeah.
Sure.
You can still go use it. You can, do whatever.
Right.
And then you're not just, it's not just sitting on somebody's gun safe waiting for the form to come through. So pretty smart way to do it.
What else were you guys hauling today? What else did you bring in as far as anything new or exciting you got going on?
Yeah, so I after the whole ATF ruling came out, obviously pistols and SBRs slowed down together at the same time. So we started putting a lot of our focus into our 16-inch variants.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Fix here. This one's a 12-inch SBR and 8.6, but we also offer all 3 calibers as 16-inch rifles as well. So you don't have to go through the Form 1 or Form 4. It's not an NFA item in any way.
Right.
You still get the folding stock, so you still get an overall very compact gun. And it's really only 4 inches longer than this guy here.
Yeah.
So those have been tremendously popular for us. We also have a Sugar Weasel lineup, which is our it's kind of our product line at our more cost-effective price point.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit cheaper than the Honey Badger or the Fix. They come in at MSRP around anywhere from $1,600 to $2,000. And those are more of a mil-spec offering, so you can swap out your bolt carrier group, your stock, your handguard with any other,
a lot of options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change it out. So we offer it in an SBR, of course, with 8-inch 300 blackout barrel, and we also have 16-inch 5.56 and a few other variants in between. But those have been incredibly popular for us this year with the whole shift. Everybody seems to be looking for 16-inch gas guns right now.
And you guys do sell some accessories, not everything that you manufacture, I guess, right? Is that what we were talking about earlier with Chris?
Oh, yeah. Chris was referencing Reptilia. So we have a great relationship with Reptilia. They do our grips on some of our guns, as well as this is their AUS mount. So we stock these on our website. So
it's gorgeous.
Yeah. They match our colorway really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're just tremendous mounts.
And you guys sell
similar,
those. Yeah,
I think, in a sense, like a very utilitarian, minimalistic approach to making a high-quality mount. Like, look at that.
Right.
There's beauty in simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's there to, it's got a job, but it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And I think that's the biggest fault of a lot of the engineering out there. It's like they want to add stuff to it because they can, but I mean, doesn't mean they should half the time.
These are a couple firearms too of many, and I saw a few more earlier that, like, if you would just leave out on your coffee table, I mean, because they're so nice to look at. I mean, they really are. They're just not just the color, but the configurations. And again, I'm just really a sucker for like that skeletal kind of minimalist look. I really dig these a lot. I mean, they're really cool.
And the cool thing is they're very functional and they're very accurate. I mean, the trigger system in the Q, the mini fix and the standard fix is really cool. I mean, the way that bolt was designed. I remember when Kevin came down here, I guess when we first picked the line up, he was explaining how their whole process to come up with this gun was start with a clean sheet of paper. No rules, do what's better. And it's because it was always done a certain way. That doesn't necessarily have to do it that way. And they really did do some stuff that just made the ergonomics of the gun so much better.
Yeah.
And they're just so easy to get behind. Yeah. And in the cool process, it's super thin and it's light.
Oh, yeah.
There's no extra beef where you don't need it.
Oh, there's lean. This gun is so
super lean.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's very functional. And I've got the 16-inch and the 5.56 and the mini fix. And it uses AR mags.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to go work over a prairie dog town, that gun is money. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's easy to shoot.
Yeah.
You're not flinging brass all over the place shooting an AR.
Right.
But it handles really better than an AR, honestly. But super cool gun, man. And like Brian was saying, you can change the barrels on these things. So if you got a 5.56, you can go to a 300 Blackout.
Yeah.
If you have a 308, you can go to a 6.5 Creedmoor or an 8.6. I mean, I'm sure. I think Proof makes barrels too in some different calibers as well. So if you want a carbon fiber barrel, you can get a Proof barrel that's a pre-fit.
Yeah.
Super easy to do. I mean, I'm not a gunsmith.
Right.
Scott Dewey here, who's our
yeah, he is.
Our
he's amazing.
gunsmith here.
Yeah.
He's like, don't touch it, Jason. I'll take care of
right.
it. You know, because I'm not that guy. If I can't do it with a screwdriver, I'm not the guy. But I
Yeah.
can even do it on these.
Yeah,
so it's pretty cool.
It's fun to build out different fixes and see the versatility. Like you're saying, like one of our marketing directors has a Proof barrel. I want to say it's 24 inches long, stainless steel. It's heavy. It's a precision barrel. And he's got his set up with a 5 to 25 on it, and it's really set up for long distance, right? And it's a great gun. It shoots incredibly well. But when you put it right next to a 8-inch little SBR with nothing but a dot on it, and it's got a can and it's still lighter, you know, you're like, man, the possibilities are endless, you know? And we've got different barrel lengths, different handguard lengths, different top rail lengths. We've got our bipod now. You can swap out different stocks. So really, I mean, the idea originally was you can swap out your handguard and swap out your barrel, but really the beauty that we're seeing is you just want to build out a whole nother fix. Right.
It's funny, when we went up there, a bunch of their guys came out to the range with us, and they all brought their guns. Every one of them had their own little tweaks on it. You know, Jordan had little orange accents on all over his. You know, David had different little accents on his gun. Brian's gun was different, and it's kind of cool because most of the time in the bolt action, especially the bolt action hunting world, it's you buy it, it's the way it is.
Right.
There's not you can go change things, but not little stuff, not like an AR-15.
Yeah, right.
And this really is a way, if you kind of dig the whole being able to just kind of tweak it the way you want it with an AR, but you want it in a bolt gun. This is the money right here.
Well, not only performers, but you can just tell again how well thought out the whole process is. Even with the bipod you said that's new. I mean, it's just, my gosh, it's just a perfect fit on that. Yeah. Functional and looks cool. That's kind of the theme.
Right. And the one thing you can take to the bank too is that it's been thoroughly tested. Yeah. It's been validated. It's not because it looks cool, let's just build it. I mean, it's okay. There's our functional use for it, and you know they've got guys that go out and really run this stuff through the ringer to make sure in the field this is the feature that you want. Right. And take off stuff that's superfluous and add stuff that is crucial to it. And so I was really just super impressed in the thought process that goes behind the designs. It's not just a form factor. there is actual technical benefit to a lot of the stuff that goes into them.
Well, submitting for a military contract like that, I know it's got to be the real deal.
That's very much baked into like our engineering team's DNA. As I learn more and more and ask questions, it's very neat to understand that perspective of having these rigid, concrete expectations or standards that you have to meet, and at the same time, keeping in mind that those are the standards for what happens right here, but there's like that happens within the framework of reality. Like, there's old kinds of different ways you could try and define quality or define reliability. But what I've come to learn, I think, over the past year is the hardest part is deciding what you want. Because you pinpoint that, you can do it. You can make the product, but that's kind of the hard part. And like with these, with the fix, you could really build it out into whatever you want it to be. Like if you know what you want, it lends itself to allow you to do that. But it also allows you to do nonsense.
Right.
Well, the good thing too is for a lot of people, especially getting into a new discipline, whether it's hunting or PRS or whatever, they think they know what they want. Yeah. And then they go out and they use it out in the field and they realize, no, this was not exactly how I thought it was going to work out. Yeah. And a lot of designs, it's very expensive to go back. If you don't like a Manor stock on a traditional bolt action rifle, that's $900 it was down to train. Yeah. If with this type of more modular setup, if there's something that you don't, I don't really care for that. It's not really that difficult to go change it.
Right.
And it's not. It's
And
easier
this
to tweak
stock
it.
can fit you, can fit
Fit
me,
every-
can fit
Yeah.
Brian.
Right,
You know, like
right.
And it's easy to adjust. It's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say what you said a second ago about people don't really know what they want. That's what we find with silencers as well. Everybody wants their silencer. Or they know what they want. They want their silencer to work with every gun that they shoot.
Sure.
And they don't necessarily understand or take the time to learn the downside of that, right? So we preach you should have a silencer on every gun, right? And that's not just because we sell silencers. It's because that's truly the right answer.
we'd
right?
also argue have like a separate dedicated flashlight on every gun.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like the same
Right.
concept.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is everybody asks for a 46 cal can or a can that's going to shoot every caliber that they shoot.
Right.
And they don't necessarily realize that silencers are a compromise, right? Like to David's point, you have to decide where your priorities are, right? Are we hunting? Are we looking for the lightest, most compact, easy can to pack through the field? Or are we shooting prone, with a child or maybe a new shooter, and we want as quiet as possible, and we don't necessarily care how light it is.
Right.
Those are two very different.
Right.
Yeah,
purposes.
that makes sense.
And there's a whole list of silencers in between.
Yeah.
Well, like a 300 Blackout, for example, it's so fun to shoot, or a gun like this that's so fun to shoot. You're going to put a lot of rounds through it, so you want a suppressor that's going to work with it and tamper that noise, because there's a lot of bullets going to become flying out of it. Is that the right way to put it? Bullets flying out of it. I don't know where that came.
The way
from.
you shoot, I would say that's very appropriate.
But for hunting, where you got maybe 4 rounds in a weekend, that's a different setup. So that makes a lot of sense.
And what Brian's alluding to is that most people go into it thinking, I want this 1 or 2 cans to do everything. And anybody who they realize they're not really great at doing anything, and so they get disappointed. Yeah. And then you go to the specialized suppressor.
I think it's the freaking weight. It's not even the money; it's the weight when it comes to cans. It's just I need more, but I'm like, golly, I start the day and
That's why you always have one in work.
I know. I need to. I got to
There's
take.
no
take
opportunity for instant gratification.
Yeah. Right.
Like, let's be honest. Like,
no.
Purchasing decisions a lot of times are emotional ones.
Absolutely.
Like, I wish I was the most rational guy, but my wife, if she's listening, she knows that I can be swayed to buy stuff on impulse.
Especially
look at that knife. Do I need another?
Especially
pocket knife?
hobbies. Hobbies and things that we
Well,
enjoy
how
are
many
very
people
emotional.
Go into the gun store and see that exact gun and go, I want to take that home today.
Right.
Well, you can have it and it'll be ready in 12 months. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, I'm off to something else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with suppressors in general, I think that's really the killer more than because we find the money somewhere. We're good at moving. Playing the shell game with ourselves.
Right.
It's okay. We'll save for college later for the kids. It's fine.
That's right.
We'll sell some guns when the time comes.
Yeah, that's right. There you go. No, well, come on. That's silly talk. What else, guys? What do you want to round out with? Anything else you want to plug or talk about, or anything new? SHOT Show's coming up. You got anything cool coming up for that?
Man, we could fill a whole nother podcast with talking about new products.
Good.
Yeah, Jason knows. So we have a 5.56 Honey Badger coming out this month, end of this month. And
cool.
That sounds real simple. Like we just changed our 300 Blackout gun to shoot 5.56. It's not that simple. It was a complete redesign of the entire upper, essentially. So
new recoil system.
Yeah,
I find it fascinating that our engineering team will put in work just to improve the product. It's not a high ROI thing.
Right.
We just made the gun better in an invisible way, and the decisions made to incorporate that into all future production because it's better.
Right.
Solely because it's better. I think that's really cool. Yeah. As long as we keep doing that, it's going to be worth buying Q because, yes, give it some time. Someone will copy it and make a really high quality, fairly priced copy of whatever given product or new innovation it is. And that's just the way of the world.
Yeah.
But if you care for who was the first company who figured out how to make really reliable, good polymer striker-fired pistols. Like,
Right.
You think of that, and now there's others who've learned to do it, and you could argue, like, based on preference,
All of
maybe,
them.
or whatever, like, some do it better or cheaper or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a source for that.
Right,
And
sure.
that, that has a cost. I think as long as we keep improving in the ways that we are, like,
Yeah.
there's going to be guys like me who say, yeah, I can buy a plasma screen TV, like, right now for $20,000. Like, think back a couple years ago, like,
Right.
big flat screen TVs, it was unbelievable what they went for. And a lot of people did want to pay for that innovation.
Sure.
And they all paved the way for us now with our $500 65-inch, flat screens at home.
I still have a 43-inch plasma that was $2,300 I bought at Circuit City.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and it was because, it was crazy. I'm like, again, we're moving money around. It's like, we'll figure it out later.
That was really good money you wasted.
Yeah, but now I wouldn't even, you wouldn't consider
That's
that.
like $50,000 in today's money.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is.
right.
Yeah, you wouldn't consider that. I know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that'll launch as a 9.69-inch barrel. So it's going to be a fast twist barrel as well, which is super interesting for a shorty 5.56.
Yeah.
Shortly after that, we'll have a 14.5 pin and welded, I believe. We also have a 5.56 dedicated silencer coming, which will be the first in our lineup. It'll be our next stainless steel can. I want to say that was slated for release end of this month, but it'll probably, if I had to guess, get pushed to either December or early January.
So lighter is really the new frontier with suppressors, I guess. I mean, that's not new, but I mean, that's where.
We're already there.
Yeah, I mean that's where everyone's headed.
It's new for some.
Right.
So one question that I had when we were there that I thought was kind of cool, and I know maybe a lot of people, and you probably would like to answer this, is how do you come up with the names for all?
Oh, yeah.
For all the stuff, and I thought it was kind of cool how it's pretty
well, Birmingham's
non-scientific.
Got you know what I'm about to say. Birmingham's got a minor league ball team called the Rocket City Trash Pandas. They've got they do, yeah. They've got, you guys need the shirts. They have shirts with like a panda logo on them. They're super cool. You need to do something with that. I don't know what that is,
That's
but
funny.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's fun and cool. I mean, it's just nobody's doing that. I mean, everything's so serious. Everything's in the world of extreme and X and whatever. It's
very controlled.
What'd you the sugar? What'd you say? What the other product you have?
The Sugar Weasel.
Oh, the Sugar Weasel. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's not easy. We come up with like probably 40, 50 names with a lot of beer and a whiteboard.
Yeah, right.
And then,
Yeah.
then slowly start erasing them one at a time.
Yeah, right.
I think one of those whiteboards still there, and it had all these kind of faded names on there. I'm like, that was the one, man. They're like, yeah, no, Kevin shot that down.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was a cool deal.
I think it's great. Yeah, I think it's really cool. It's a way for you guys to stand out for sure, and you do. So, you guys are obviously doing something right again with the kind of growth you've had and personnel and everything else. I mean, that's fantastic. It's obviously well received in the marketplace. So, gearing up for SHOT Show. You guys ready for that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Every year. Yeah, we won't have a booth. We typically don't. We're kind of the not show people.
Yeah.
So we'll be there. We'll be doing our meetings. We'll be making our rounds. But
Right.
yeah, we try to stay away from the booth life.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah. So you guys, what's all your social medias? So website, social medias, all that. Let's give that a plug.
We're on our third Instagram account. The first two got banned. So
Oh, nice. You're
Yeah.
doing something right.
yeah, our Instagram right now is unpossible_by_Q. So that's unpossible with a U. And then Live Q or Die is our website and our YouTube channel.
That's really cool. And of course, we're at LIPSEY'S Guns. Not as cool as Trash Pandas or Sugar Weasels, but at LIPSEY'S Guns on Facebook and Instagram and all the socials. And guys, again, it's been a pleasure. Learned a lot today. I'm really glad we got to sit down and do this.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get some guns down and do some. We'll do some videos. We'll do some range stuff too, or you guys come out with us and do that. So
Yep.
all right, good. Well, thank you guys, and until next time, crew, aim higher.